The next contest to be held was the fastest Trid contest. Only 5 Trids signed up. On a bright, sunny Tuesday afternoon, the 5 Trids lined up in the track lanes outside Orange Stadium. In Lane 1 was Phil, Lane 2, Jason. Lane 3 was Susan, in Lane 4 was Bob, and Doug was in Lane 5. The first portion of the contest was a 100-meter dash. The contestants lined up and the official fired the gun. The race was over pretty quickly with Bob in first, Doug second, Susan third. The next, a 200-meter dash. After the gun was fired, the same place order was achieved. The final event to be done for the contest was the 400-meter dash. Doug and Susan, tired of losing to Bob, decided to eliminate Bob from the next race. Before the next race began, Susan started to flirt with Bob. While she was doing this, Doug leaned over and tied Bob's shoes together. The official called for the race to start. Bob looked down, saw his shoes were laced together, bent over to redo the knots. Meanwhile, the official had fired the gun. Doug and Susan were smiling evilly now. They were neck and neck with 50 meters left to go. Suddenly, they saw a blur run in between them. They crossed the finish line to see Bob shaking hands with the official after being crowned the fastest Trid. On Thursday, the mayor himself met with those interested in becoming the most creative or resourceful Trid. The 4 Trids, Phil, John, Samantha, and Monica, were given their instructions. They would be left out in the woods for 1 week. Whichever Trid had the best living conditions in the most creative way would be named the most creative and resourceful Trid. The last the mayor saw of them was the Trids waving goodbye as they headed into the forest. 1 week later, the mayor and a group of officials drove out to the woods to see who would be crowned the winner. The group started in the woods searching for one of the contestants. They first came upon John, whom they found shivering under a small tree. The group looked at each other, and the mayor turned to John and told him that he did not win the contest. John joined the group as they set off to find the next contestant. Not much longer, they found Monica. Monica was in the same shape that John was, except that she had built a leaf shelter in between 2 trees. Mayor Derriere told Monica how good her shelter was, and the group set off to find Samantha and Phil. About 30 feet from where they found Monica, they found Phil living in a cave. Phil had a fire going and offered the group some food to eat. The mayor and his group ate a meal that consisted of cooked meat and fresh fruit. "Congratulations on your shelter, Phil. You might have a chance to win this contest," the mayor told him. The group left the cave. After wandering about the forest for another hour or so, they found Samantha's hut. Hut was a little bit of an understatement. Samantha had built a 3-story house, complete with windows and 2 porch areas. Samantha greeted them at the door and invited them into her house. She went to the sink and got each member a group of coconut full of water. The group was impressed that Samantha had running water at her disposal. The group continued to tour the house, and they continued to be amazed at all the things Samantha had made. They found a living room with 5 couches and 3 recliners that were made out of bamboos and leaves. Finally, the mayor turned to Phil and told him that, unfortunately for him, Samantha had won the most creative and resourceful Trid contest. Samantha was informed to meet at the town hall's conference center on Sunday afternoon for more details regarding what she will be doing next. On Sunday afternoon, the mayor met with Sally, Bob, and Samantha in the town hall. "You 3 have been chosen to represent the Trids because you have won the 3 contests. You will each use the skill you have to collect apples for the town. Tomorrow you will set off for the Hill of Life and challenge Noel the Troll to obtain the apples that give us life. How will you accomplish this?" "I will use my speed to run from tree to tree," Bob said. "By using the angle of the sun at the time of the day, I would dash from tree to tree, staying out of the troll's vision since I will be in the sun's glare," Sally informed them. "And I will build a catapult and propel myself from tree to tree," finished Samantha. "Go then, and be prosperous." The mayor then bade them goodbye. The next day, the entire town was gathered near the gates, watching Bob, Sally, and Samantha leave to head for the Hill of Life. When they reached the hill, they immediately put their respective plans into action. Bob started running from tree to tree, collecting apples. Samantha began throwing little catapults into the trees so she could get around. Susan began calculating the complex formulas regarding the sun, humidity, time of day, and cloud coverage. Noel the Troll was currently watching season 4 of One Tree Hill when he heard the noises coming from outside. He glanced outside and saw them. He got off his chair and laced up his boots. Here we go again. When he got outside, he saw a blur run past him. He was in shock. He never saw a Trid run that fast before. He waited till he saw the blur coming for him, then he stuck out his foot, and Bob fell flat on his face. Noel grinned. He picked Bob up with one hand, faced the city, and booted Bob down the mountain. Thumpa, 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 thumpa. Bob rolled down the hill, towards the city, leaving a trail of apples behind him. Noel laughed evilly. He stopped laughing. He heard a twang, and he turned and saw Samantha flying through the air over top of trees and landing in the next one. Noel ran towards the trees that Samantha had just landed in and kicked it hard. Thud! Lucky for Noel, he was wearing his steel-toed boots. Samantha fell to the ground, instantly dropping her apples. Noel picked her up and booted her down the hill as well. She went flying, then hit the ground hard and rolled the rest of the way to the city. Noel quickly turned around in case there were any more of the Trids around the apple trees. He saw one duck behind a tree. Noel snuck up on Sally and pushed her and her apples to the ground. Before she could get up, Noel had her in his grasp. Noel pulled his arm back, storing energy, and then swung his arm forward. With the stored energy, Noel threw Sally towards the city. Sally hit the ground with a nasty thud, and continued to bounce and skip the rest of the way to the city. Calculate how hard you hit the ground, thought Noel as he laughed and walked back into his house. Bob, Sally, and Samantha got up from the ground, with winces of pain, and slowly walked the rest of the way back to the city. Once they reached the city gate, the crowd burst into cheers of joy and elation. A band started playing celebratory music. The mayor quickly cut them off when he saw something was wrong with the picture. What? You haven't brought any apples? The three looked at each other and then shook their heads. No. The crowd booed and hissed and began to disperse. The mayor warned them not to return back empty-handed again. They were to go home and rest, but the next day they would try again. They bowed to the mayor and began walking home. On the way, they began to think of what they would do to try and get the apples from the orchard the next day. To be continued.